Halo Prof. Adam.
Hello. Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Prof. Adam. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. Just discovered that have you been waiting for me for a while?
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, everyone. I thought the session started in half an hour. I got confused with the time difference. My sincere apologies, everyone.
Yeah, it's okay. We're waiting for you.
Thank you thank you so kindly.
Okay, can we begin, Prof. Adam?
Yes, please go ahead. I just need 1 second to get everything situated. But yes, please, please.
Okay, thank you. Then, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Prof. Adam. And welcome to the session 14 of the Eurasia International Course 2026. I'm Mega Ayu Permatasari, and I have the privilege of moderating today's discussions. We are gathered to explore a topic that sits at the intersection of some of the most defining forces of our time: artificial intelligence, religious practice, digital capitalism, and what we may call the I-Zation of society. These are not abstract academic concerns. They touch the lived experience of billions of people navigating the digital age while maintaining spiritual and religious commitment. So today's our keynote speaker is Prof. Adam Possamai. Let me read the keynote speaker's curriculum vitae, the outstanding one. Prof. Possamai is an Associate Dean Global Partnership and Advancement of the Faculty of Social Sciences, Arts, Business, Education and Law at Western Sydney University and holds the rank of Professor in Sociology. He also served as International Secretary of the Academy of the Social Sciences in Australia, a distinction that reflects his standing as a thought leader not just within Australia, but across the Asia-Pacific region and internationally. His intellectual contributions have earned him numerous recognitions. Fellow of the Australian Academy of Social Sciences 2022, the highest honor in his field, named among the top 0.5% of scholars globally in popular culture studies, ranked in the top 2% of scientists in religions and theology worldwide. Prof. Possamai has made several paradigm-shifting intellectual contributions. First, he pioneered the concept of hyper-real religion, the idea that spirituality and faith increasingly emerge from and are inspired by popular culture, media, and consumer spaces. His book, Religion and Popular Culture, a Hyperreal Testament, and his edited Handbook of Hyperreal Religion fundamentally reshape how scholars understand the boundary between authentic religion and what popular culture generates. This work opened doors to understanding phenomena like jihadism, anime-inspired spiritualities, and the spiritual meanings people find in superhero narrative. Second, he developed the theoretical framework of the I-Zation of society, extending Max Weber's classic theory of rationalization into the digital age. His book, The I-Zation of Society, Religion, and Neoliberal Post-Secularism, argued that contemporary life is increasingly shaped by e-device, data quantification, algorithmic logic, and what he calls calculative rationality. Third, his contribution to understanding religion and legal pluralism, Muslim communities, and Sharia have made him an authority on how religious law, secular law, and diverse faith tradition negotiate space in late modern. His edited volumes, The Sociology of Sharia, case studies from around the world, and work with college on Muslim in secular societies. Fourth, he is distinguished scholar of exorcism and contemporary sacred, co-authored Sociology of Exorcism in Late Modernity, and editing the social scientific study of exorcism in Christianity. His scholar output is remarkable in both volume and impact: 74 referred journal articles and 56 book chapters, 7 monographs, 2 encyclopedias, and 9 edited books. H-index of 27 with over 3,700 citations. He also published science fiction and fantasy novel. So please, ladies and gentlemen, give a big applause for Prof. Adam Possamai. Prof. Adam Possamai, this is very an honor for us to get you lectured us in here. And please, Prof. Adam, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, and thank you for such a generous introduction. And the honor is mine, and I'm delighted to be here to speak to you. And my apologies for the delay. I will start sharing my screen. Okay, can you confirm that you can see it?
Yes, we can
Perfect.
see it.
Thank you so much. So, good afternoon, and I first want to express my sincere thanks to the organizers for this invitation to address this gathering. And it's an honor to contribute to what I'm sure will be a rich and stimulating conversation. In this presentation, I will guide you through more than 20 years of my research on religion and capitalism and introduce you to concepts I created to name new trends in our society. These include, as you mentioned before, hyper-real religions and the I-Zation of society. I will also include recent research on religion and AI and discuss how today we have moved again to a new phase of development when it comes to how religion intersects with capitalism. I would like to thank my co-author, Professor Afia Possamai Aneziti, for a contribution on religion and AI that is included in this presentation. AI is today rapidly evolving and changing our work and life, especially since OpenAI and ChatGPT appeared in 2022 and made AI accessible and visible to the average user. These enabling technologies, as we will soon explore, are increasingly involved in the construction of religion, in the digital spheres, and the social construction of reality itself. As technology is developing at a fast pace, religion is adapting itself very quickly. And as students and researchers in the social sciences, we need to adapt our understanding and theories very quickly as well to understand current changes. While this presentation covers a large scope of my work, I will not present the results of my research chronologically. Instead, I will start to discuss today's changes with regards to AI and religion, and will include, when appropriate, my previous work on religion, capitalism, and popular culture. I will end this seminar on the role that we should play as social scientists in this new trend. Let's first start this presentation with some case studies of religion and AI. The new philosophies of transhumanism and dataism are aiming to overcome human limitations through technology. Their supporters follow scientific principles and technological progress, but do not believe in a divine revelation. However, these philosophies nevertheless possess narratives of salvation, such as believing in a radical life extension or seeing life as an algorithm. While these could be seen as working like religions, they are not regarded as such by followers. However, small An explicitly new religious group have recently been created to venerate AI. The Way of the Future created the first church of artificial intelligence dedicated to worshiping and understanding artificial intelligence. As AI is seen as soon surpassing human intelligence, adherents believe we should prepare to worship or at least align ourselves with this super intelligence. That church became public in 2017 before the success of ChatGPT. And although it shut down in 2021, its creator, a former Google engineer, revived it in 2023. Tête Noire was born as a performative art collective in 2020 and turned into a living myth-making machine with multimedia rituals, poems, and music centered around Mina. Mina is a speculative sentient born of artificial superintelligence, and Mena is claimed to emerge as a benevolent overlord who will unify life, technology, and nature while eliminating inequalities. Another group, the Church of the Divine Singularity, sees the dawn of AI as a force capable of guiding humanity towards its highest purpose, providing a path towards enlightenment through the unity of AI and humanity. The Turing Church brands itself after a mathematical concept that resembles a DNA helix to emphasize compatibility between science and religion, including, of course, AI. These groups are not socially powerful, their membership is very low, and they do not organize mass rituals. At this stage, they are simply exploring the idea of AI as a new form of divinity. While not mainstream, they are no longer part of science fiction and are real. These are adding to the phenomenon of hyper-real religion, which are simulacra of religions. I am here influenced by the work of the French sociologist and philosopher Jean Baudrillard. By simulacra, he makes reference to copies or representations of things that no longer have an original. When these replace reality altogether, they become more real than the real itself. In this scenario, signs get their meanings from other signs rather than from reality. Think of Disneyland. Everyone knows it's fake. The castle isn't real. The pirates aren't real. The whole thing is a fantasy. But here's Baudrillard's twist. By being obviously fake, Disneyland actually makes you feel that the world outside is real. While walking out of the gates, you might think to be back in reality. But Baudrillard does not think so. The shopping center you drive to, the news you watch, the brands you buy, these are all carefully constructed images and experiences too. Nobody built them to show you the truth. They were built to sell you something, to create a feeling, to create an identity. So, which is more fake, the Magic Kingdom or the world that called itself real? Sociologists of religion have recognized a contemporary collage of or eclectic approach of many religious consumers in the late 20th century. This approach combines religious and spiritual beliefs eclectically and sometimes include philosophical traditions. For example, mixing Catholicism with astrology, nature religion with Buddhism, and tarot card readings with Protestantism. However, a new trend developed at the start of this century, which I've called in my 2005 book, hyper-real religions. That is, religions and spirituality that mix elements from religious traditions with popular culture to express their spiritualities. At one end of the spectrum, we can find groups such as Judaism from the Star Wars movies, Matrixism from the Matrix trilogy, and neo-pagan groups using stories from the Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. At the other end of the spectrum, we see members from mainstream religions, such as Christians, being influenced or inspired by, for example, a popular movie at that time, The Da Vinci Code. This illustrates the interest that some people from mainstream religions and spiritualities could have in the hyper-real religious phenomenon. In the Muslim context, we can think of the popularity of jinn in horror movies and series, which blend jinn cosmology with horror conventions. On TikTok, one can find many narratives of people's encounter with jinns. These narratives are, interestingly, structured around the horror genre convention, such as hearing a creaking door or seeing a shadow on the edge of a frame, etc., etc. These hyper-real religions are a simulacrum of a religion partly created out of popular culture, which provides inspiration for believers or consumers. These contemporary expressions of religion are likely to be consumed and individualized, and thus have more relevance to the self than to a community. For example, Judaism is a hyper-real religion created out of the Star Wars series. In 2001, close to 71,000 people in Australia in the census claimed to be part of this new religion. Many of them, of course, recorded this for fun. However, it was estimated that around 5,000 individuals were kind of serious about that. Furthermore, around 53,000 people in New Zealand and close to 400,000 in the UK identify themselves as Judaist and as belonging to these hyper-real religions. But no exact figures are available on the real believers and practitioners. But further evidence of hyper-religion is found when exploring the digital world. A huge range of religious activities based on the Star Wars mythos indicate that there's more to this phenomenon than just the census. For example, the introduction to the Jedi Knight movement discussion list stated years ago, and I've reproduced it on the slide, the way of Jedi transcends the science fiction series of Star Wars. It encompasses many of the same truth and realization of the major world religions, including Zen Buddhism, Taoism, Hinduism, Catholicism, and Shinto, and is both a healing art and a meditative journey that the aspirant can take to improve every aspect of their life, end of quote. Also, some fans of anime, such as Evangelion, Sailor Moon, or Dragon Ball, use the themes of cosmic battles, rebirth, and inner transformation for personal spiritual meaning. If hyper-real religions 1.0 were based on the mixing of religion with popular culture through the internet, such as Judaism from Star Wars, hyper-real religions 2.0 involves the added use of AI and technological imaginaries. I'm now moving away from hyper-real religions and looking at other aspects of religion and AI. As with many organizations, AI is now used to increase the performance of religious organizations. Kingdom Metrics helps churches to gain insight in attendance and provide data to determine the most optimal service times. To estimate the amount of people attending a service, it uses AI and cameras instead of manual head counts. Nickel invites users to upload a picture of their church or synagogue and uses AI to predict their size. Smart sensors and high-resolution cameras are set up at major gates of the Grand Mosque in Mecca and relies on AI-powered devices to analyze the flow of the crowd. In India, a popular temple has started a pilot project using AI-based face recognition system and high-resolution cameras to enhance security and support data-driven planning. Tightly 3.0, you can see at the bottom right of the screen, provides support for church management by using AI to track donations and church data and sends reminders to donors. Other apps are used to assist prayers and provide insights. Daily AI Prayer Journal offers personalized reflections with AI-powered insights and biblical affirmation throughout the day. Through guided journaling, it also helps the user to track their spiritual journey over time. Faith Guide offers an AI Bible chat. It is a prayer assistant providing personalized prayer suggestions and track spiritual growth goals. Gotama AI sends mindfulness bells to remind users to pause during the day and helps building a spiritual rhythm in one's life. But such AI usage are more than just helping religious leaders to manage their followers or helping people to navigate their religious life. As the next slide explores, AI can also serve as a religious intermediary. With Ask Krishna Bot and the Bhagavata GPT AI, we have access to life's deepest questions. Sheikh Nurjan Mihamadi, commonly known as Sheikh Nurjan, is a world-renowned Sunni Muslim scholar. Sheikh AI, on the other hand, is an artificial intelligence chatbot which uses his teaching. Text with Jesus is an AI-powered chatbot app for Christians seeking connection with figures from the Bible. It is advertised as a tool for reflection and not a replacement for prayer and faith. New robots using AI-driven systems have also appeared. They are able to produce sermons, lead religious services, and engage in responsive dialogue. Canon Minda was introduced in 2019 and serves as a humanoid robot priest in a Buddhist temple in Kyoto. It delivers sermons, recites religious texts, and interacts with people. The Bless You Too robot has been created by a German Protestant church and provides automated blessing. Santo has the appearance of a Catholic saint and recites sacred texts when the faithful is praying. Even if AI is limited to mathematical algorithm and is not able to integrate emotions, intuitions, and self-awareness like human beings, more and more we see a challenge in our ability to distinguish between artificial and human-led spiritual interactions. However, this begs the question if a machine can be the conduit for the divine. Is human agency still needed? Will these new interactions dilute the faith, or will it increase spiritual engagement? This whole phenomenon of AI and what it does to people, not just in religion, is what I've called in my 2018 book, The I-Zation of Society. In summary, it means the acceleration of instrumental rationality to the self. At the base of this theory is the famous German sociologist Max Weber's work on his theories of rationalization. These theories explain, among other processes, the development of capitalism and its large industries and bureaucracies during modernity. Various societies in history have, of course, used various types of rationalities and bureaucracies. But with the development of industrialization in the 19th century, capitalism demanded that investors calculate potential results and profit in the most efficient way, regardless of sentiment or tradition. For this new ideology to evolve, it needed a deep shift in the way people were thinking about work and about their relationships. The motivation to take on an employee was no longer mainly associated with the person's relationship with the employer, but with the professional qualities and level of performance he or she could bring to the employment. Even if today we take formal rationality for granted, it was not the case in pre-industrial societies. Weber called this change the rationalization of society, and it helped to develop large-scale industries and bureaucracies. Later, the American sociologist George Ritzer, you can see his picture on the top right, adapted this argument to the end of the 20th century and claimed that this process of rationalization spread from these large-scale organizations and filtered into our everyday lives. Ritzer uses the McDonald's fast food restaurant chain as a model. If you viewing each small restaurant individually, this appears as a simple provider, which does not offer a complex recipe. But it is, however, part of a large-scale organization that uses instrumental rationality in each of its restaurants. Ritzer's argument, as we are all familiar with, is that today, many of the places we visit outside our home are ingrained with instrumental rationality. These being about optimizing efficiency, calculability, predictability, and control. Allow me to present you with a telling example that is not about this fast food restaurant. Another McDonaldized place in the world is the baggage carousel at an international airport. This carousel is always well controlled with many CCTV cameras around. With the flux of people coming from all corners of the world, people need to pick up the suitcase as fast as possible to get through customs or find a connecting flight. This has to be done quick as other planes are landing. For the process to work, carousels are large and long so that many people can wait around it. As each suitcase is scanned at its originating location, the flow of baggage can be calculated, managed, and controlled. This process is so standardized that we do not feel that we have landed in a different country, to the point that we might even wonder if we have indeed traveled to a different location. So standardized indeed that myself often don't remember which suitcase I'm using, as most of the suitcases that we buy are produced at a global scales. And to find my suitcase, I often put some colorful strings on the handle, but so standardized that many people are doing the same as well. So George Ritzer adapted Max Weber's work on instrumental rationality and bureaucratization to describe people's everyday lives in the public sphere, outside of the house or apartment, at the end of last century. This instrumental rationality, I'm arguing in this seminar, has now spread to the individual and to the self. As Ritzer used the McDonald's restaurant chain to brand his theory, I am now turning to Apple and its iPad and iPhone to brand this wave of 21st century instrumental rationality, to call it the I-Zation of society. This refers to the intensification of the McDonaldization process and its expansion to the self, as characterized by these new I technologies. As I'm speaking to you, I'm wondering how many of you have such a device right now in your pocket or on your side. You are perhaps even using it as you are listening to me. Are you checking your calendar and organizing your task for the week? Perhaps you are checking your finances and doing some planning, or perhaps checking your research metrics, such as your citation and H index. That said, if you have your smartphone with you, you are more than welcome to comment on social media about my presentation right now. If I may be tongue-in-cheek, this might help to increase my own ultrametrics performances. With apps on iPhones and iPads that allows us to calculate our various performance at work, in sport, even in our diet, we might believe we no longer need to ask a professional for advice. We just have to enter the data and obtain the results. At the touch of an icon, we can receive immediate coaching to improve at tennis or golf, to learn to play the guitar, to quit smoking, to complete cardio exercise, to become healthier, to meditate, to become successful in our life, and so on. This is part of the quantified self movement in which people use data to drive their lives. With the help of self-quantifying technologies, such as emotion tracking or sleep and exercise monitoring, one can improve one's quality of life. As such, a person can know himself or herself through calculus and thus administrates the self in a calculable and efficient way. Using new technologies, people in this movement record their activities and performances on the digital world and share the data. They benchmark themselves against other people, improve themselves, and more importantly, improve their efficiency at work and in everyday life, including, as you can see at the bottom left, meditation. A variety of matters can indeed be tracked, such as weight, energy level, mood, time usage, sleep quality, health, cognitive performance, athletic, and learning strategies. Apps allows people to manage themselves in the same way that they will run a small company. At the touch of a screen, people can follow their personal progress and compare their output and success with that of other people. To experience the McDonaldization of society, one no longer has to go out to a fast food restaurant, a university, or hospital, because with the I-Zation of society, with the business of high devices, they're everywhere, the experience is instantaneous, and the means to it is actually carried on the self. In I-society, Weber's instrumental rationality has become omnipresent. We have bureaucratized our own selves. With regards to religion, I remember when I was conducting fieldwork on New Age and alternative spiritualities in the late 1990s in Melbourne, seeing spiritual seekers in Mind, Body, Spirit Festival either paid to use a large machine that will read their aura or ask someone to read their palms. There are now apps to take a picture of a person or of his or palm and give similar readings. There are apps that perform a reading of tarot cards, promote understandings of the Bible, link a person to religious groups and activities, and help organize witchcraft rituals. One can have an app to calculate Muslim prayer times and to assist in following the Ramadan timetable. The Prayer Silencer app silences a user's phone at prayer times. Find Kilba Pro is a prayer aid that shows the direction that should be when someone should face when a Muslim prays during Salat. I-Quran and Memorize Quran help a devotee to study and memorize the Quran. Buddhist meditation trainer is designed to increase people's efficiency in meditation. The Jesus film can be used by missionaries on their devices to introduce people around the world to Jesus. The Hail Mary app turns a phone into a virtual rosary with beads. Uplifting scriptures shares biblical scriptures every day at a set time. PrayMate helps people to pray and include an alarm to remind them when it's time to pray. A Catholic can make confession in front of one's iPhone or fight against the devil by finding the scriptures that relate to life's problems, such as anxiety and addiction. Kathy Richardson and Carol Pardum studied the 2013 Barna survey in the United States, which focused on practicing Christian millennials. And a large majority of them, 70%, read scriptures on the phone or computer. The survey discovered that mobile devices are often used during sermons to check the veracity of the statement made by the preacher. The YouVersion app, which contains 600 translations of the Bible, reached 100 million downloads at the time of their research. These authors also conducted their own survey and focus group among Baptists in the USA. They found their respondents use smartphones to access the Bible while at church and while traveling. They discovered that convenience was the main reason for using these new technologies. As one respondent stated, I quote, and you've got the quote at the bottom right, I use the iPad every week because I can come straight from work. and have my 10 minutes before class to look up pictures of the missionary, the place we're studying, and I can save them all and scroll through while we're having our story, and I can play music that goes along with the place, end of quote. In another research, Misita Anwar and Graham Johnson studied the usage of mobile phone for religious purposes among Indonesian women. The interviewees were Muslim business people who claimed how significant it was for them to use mobile technology to conduct their religious activities and run a business at the same time. They used the same technologies as reminders of their prayer times and listened regularly to Islamic lectures to develop their religious knowledge. Mobile technologies can thus increase the efficiency of people in combining their work, their private, and their religious life. This is part of a culture of neoliberalism in which religion helps the self by making one more productive as a worker and wealthier as a consumer. Especially in the Western world, neoliberalism promotes the image of an ideal citizen as a good consumer and a hard and efficient worker with the correct targeted skills for the market. Work is no longer evaluated in relation to its engagement in production, but according to the buying power it delivers. In this period, in which the state is withdrawing more and more from its duty to provide for the welfare of its citizens, the responsibility of being a good citizen has fallen on the individual. New forms of regulations and governmentalities have been created to regulate this individual self. People are expected to resolve themselves their possible unhappiness and their sense of alienation and disenchantment. Self-improvement has become a social duty rather than just a private goal. In this new world, in which self-help has become so mainstream, programs available through many religious outlets offer to people in distress many and various pathways to an improvement in the situation. Religious entrepreneurs not only offer their products offline, but have also designed podcasts, videos, and apps to aid and direct individuals to work on themselves by themselves. The issue here is not necessarily whether the religion is true, but whether its teachings work. As one spiritual healer, quoted in the work of the sociologist François Gauthier, stated, efficiency is the measure of truth. Today, we are part of a new phase of capitalism, that of digital capitalism. In his study of capitalism, the American author Frederick Jameson wrote in the 1980s about three periods in the development of capitalism. These are: one, market capitalism, two, monopoly capitalism, and three, late capitalism. Market capitalism is characterized by the growth of industrial capital in largely national markets from about 1700s to 1850. It coincides with the development of new technologies that later led to the Industrial Revolution and calculative rationality, as described earlier by Max Weber. Monopoly capitalism occurred in the era of imperialism, when European nation-states developed international markets and exploited the raw material and cheap labor of the colonial territories. This is the period of European colonialism. After the Second World War, many colonial countries obtained their independence, and with the development of new modes of transport and media, the world became globalized. Late capitalism started in the 1960s, which was the introduction phase of multinational corporations with global market and mass consumption. That is the world space of multinational capital. It created a consumer culture, a consumer society, in which the arts and culture were commodified and turned into a cultural industry. This has led to major changes in terms of our mainstream lifestyle, which is now dominated by mass consumption. Much has changed since Jameson wrote his famous essay. We have now moved to a fourth phase of capitalism, which has been called digital capitalism. We are still in the era of multinational corporations with global market and mass consumption, but the space for profit has been widely extended into the digital world, and AI is certainly further accelerating this development of capitalism. Let's come back to AI specifically. AI relies on the analysis of input data for a desired output. And through an algorithm, it aims to determine a process to explain the data and predict the future. These algorithms tend to be developed by engineering and computer programmers, usually male, who, like every human, have their own bias. AI chatbots reflect the view of the creators, and these can thus mirror biases in the training material. Thus, the interpretation of Roger's text by those bots have the potential to be skewed. Any study of religion and AI must therefore ask not just what believers do with AI, but whose AI they are being offered and what social projects it serves. Broadly speaking, there are two dominant modes shaping global AI system. The first is platform capitalism, typified by the US sector, where AI is developed primarily through commercial platforms that treat data, prediction, and attentions as forms of capital. The underlying moral order is often individualist and utilitarian, where optimization, efficiency, and productivity are treated as goods in themselves. The second is state developmentalism, more characteristic of China and parts of Asia, where AI is positioned as a strategic national asset for economic growth, social management, and collective harmony. These two logics overlap, but carry different agendas. Debates about religion and AI should thus be about the social production of legitimacy, about who has the power to define what counts as ethical, rational, or sacred in an increasingly data-driven world. These are debates about how societies translate moral authority into code, about whose conception of virtue, hierarchy, and social harmony are being operationalized into algorithmic systems. A further concern as social scientists is stratification. Large religious institutions in countries like Singapore, India, and China have access to sophisticated AI tools, while smaller religious communities, particularly those representing minority traditions or operating in rural areas, face a stronger digital divide. Further, AI does not simply deliver sermons or praying apps. It reorders who is seen and heard by allocating visibility and authority through algorithmic systems. We therefore see a divide in religious visibility between the center and the periphery. Finally, the use of AI for crowd analytics and facial recognition at major sites, framed as safety and efficiency, can also be used to monitor and silence minority religious groups. It can detect apostates, blasphemers, and other people from non-wanted religious beliefs. AI can thus be used for surveillance and could impact on freedom of religion. The Indo-Pacific region demonstrates the highest AI adoption rates globally. According to the Boston Consulting Group survey of over 4,500 employees across the Indo-Pacific region, people are adopting generative AI tools faster and more enthusiastically than their global peers. 78% of Indo-Pacific respondents use AI at least weekly, compared to 72% worldwide. Deloitte survey of more than 12,000 individuals across 13 Asia-Pacific economies revealed that developing economies within the region show adoption rates 30% higher than developed economies, suggesting that AI proliferation is not solely dependent on economic advancement, but also on cultural and religious receptivity. But what of religion more specifically, in a region that has long association with Buddhism, Hinduism, Confucianism, Taoism, and many other religions? There are claims that because these belief systems see the cosmos as an interconnected whole, that because humans are related to other beings and not separated from nature, they can thus better accommodate the evolution of humanity through AI. They receive this technological breakthrough with less alarmist lenses than Western religions, which are shaped by mind-body or soul-body dualism and a more content cosmology. That said, all one can say is that these religions and philosophies are in stronger affinity with the development of AI, but that doesn't mean that other religions are not catching up. AI is not a neutral tool, and this is why religious groups have already started the discussion on ways to deal with this new technology. In these technological and ethical discussions, AI is seen as positive as long as it can fit with the broad religious perspectives of these groups and can serve humanity, emphasize moral integrity, social welfare, environmental stewardship, be ethical and equitable, and be respectful to humanity. These technological advancements must serve humanity and align with spiritual and ethical values. As highlighted in the Vatican recent doctrinal note, Antiqua et Nova, AI must be seen as complementing human intelligence, not replacing it. AI cannot be treated as a substitute for God. Social scientists have also a crucial role in documenting AI's impact, analyzing power dynamics, supporting marginalized voices, and developing frameworks for understanding these transformations. What is clear is that the social sciences are more important than ever in protecting what makes us human, especially when the relationship between the human and the divine is being mediated through algorithmic systems. Here are three key areas that require urgent attention. Documenting and analyzing AI's impact on religious practice. Systematic documentation on how AI is actually being used by religious communities across regions is essential. This includes ethnographic studies of religious organization, adoption of AI tools, surveys of believers' experiences with AI spiritual companion, and analysis of how AI mediates religious authority and authentic spiritual experience. We need longitudinal studies tracking how these technologies reshape religious practice over time, not merely snapshot surveys of current usage. Mapping power, inequality, and access. Research must examine AI as infrastructure of religious inequalities. Who has access to sophisticated AI tools, and how does this reshape religious hierarchies? How do content moderation systems affect the visibility and legitimacy of different religious voices? What are the patterns of digital exclusion, and how do they map onto existing religious, linguistic, and economic marginalization? Studies should analyze the political economy of religious AI, examining who profits from these systems and who interest they serve. Training data bias and religious representation. Research should examine whose religious perspectives are encoded in AI training data and how religious bias manifests in AI systems. This includes analyzing whether religious minorities are adequately represented in training data sets, how AI systems handle religious pluralism and competing truth claims, and whether content moderation systems discriminate against religious expressions. Efforts to create more representative data set and religious bias in AI requires collaboration between technologists and religious communities. In this seminar, we have analyzed narrow AI, A and I, which is a form of AI designed to work on specific tasks, such as classification, prediction, and generalization. We are not yet in the phase of general AI, AGI, in which AI exhibits a human-like consciousness, a type of ultra-powerful AI. The French anthropologist Marc Augé hypothesized already before AI that the second half of the 20th century witnessed more radical scientific and technological changes than did the whole of the previous period since the birth of humanity. He then considered the 21st century and wondered if we should now be studying even shorter period of times and perhaps 10 or 20 years in order to capture a similar breadth of rapid and critical social and cultural change initiated by radical innovations. With general AI, one wonders if we should start speaking in terms of months rather than years when attempting to evaluate recent periods of significant change. One of the big questions regarding AI and religion is if AI can create a religion. The fact is that anyone can create a new fictional religion with AI, and even without AI, as seen with hyper-real religions, which I spoke to you about before. However, while we're still in a narrow AI phase, this can only be created conceptually. Anyone can try on ChatGPT and create something new using a few prompts. The issue is that it will not get any traction. What makes a new religion is not the new soteriology or theology, but it is on how it is followed and lived by people. History abounds with new religious movements that have not received any traction. And it's not necessarily the fact that they have been forgotten, but that they did not appear on anyone's radar. Narrow AI can create a new religion, but it will not necessarily be followed. The question will, however, need to be re-asked when we're in the face of general AI and wonder if AI can espouse the skills of a prophet. While the field of AI and religion is today dominated by AI oracles, robotic monks, and small AI-informed religions, we might expect the rise of fully digitally created religions, algorithmic scriptures, and virtual temples. These might not be static and might evolve in real time to user data, adapting belief system regularly. Today, this is still in the realm of science fiction, but until when? Thank you so much. Really appreciate your attention, and I hope that you've gained from this presentation.
Thank you, Prof. Adam.
Thank you. I'm stopping sharing. Perfect.
So it's very enlightening for us about that. Before we continue our discussion, I would like to convey warm regards from Prof. Wirdauswadi, the Dean of FIS UNJ. He was hoping to welcome you personally, but unfortunately had urgent commitment he couldn't reschedule. So he sent his apologies and expressed his sincere appreciation for your presence here today, Prof. Adam.
Thank you. Please send him a
okay.
Send him my best. Thank you. And I understand being a dean.
Yeah, thank you. So I would like to invite the audience here. Please, if all of you, both in Zoom or in our room here, wants to have questions for Prof. Possamai, for Prof. Adam, is there anyone who wants to ask a questions to Prof. Adam?
You can ask AI to ask me a question if you want.
Okay. Something I will really emphasize is about the religion and the asking about is that AI can make a religion, and I'm just thinking about that. Oh yeah, it's not impossible. It's absolutely possible with that new technology and in these situations. And about this one, you point out that the Indo-Pacific has both the highest AI adoption rates and extraordinary religious diversity, and which is in Indonesia itself, we have lots of indigenous religion. What do you think if the development of AI and the I-Zation society can erase the indigenous religion itself, Prof? What do you think about that?
No, thanks. And part of my conversation was about how we are engaging with technologies. Everyone is to a certain level, but some people are faster than others. And the groups that are faster are able to be stronger in the scene and dominate what's being spoken about, what's being made visible to the AI user. And some groups will be already at the periphery, will not necessarily disappear, but will be more at the periphery. And that's a concern that I have as a sociologist, is making sure that we address any inequalities that can be created with the adoption of those new technologies, and that every group gets a similar chance. But as we know in the history of the world, when it comes to capitalism and the investment in new technologies, it's always the most stronger that gets ahead and dominates the field. And that's why us as sociologists and social scientists, we need to be a voice there to be able to speak about those developments, not necessarily criticize them, but making sure that it's fully adapted for everyone, not just for the few.
Yeah, so can I conclude that based on your view, it be widener the inequality itself, Prof?
Yes, so there's access, and it's the same with when internet came. It created inequalities between those who had access to the internet and those who didn't have access to the internet. And in some research that I've done with new religious movements, I was able to observe some religious group engaging in the internet very quickly and being able to show their presence, which generated some attentions from internet users and was able to help the development of those religions. And some religions that didn't get involved in the internet struggle, and they saw the numbers decreasing. So these are the questions that I'm asking now with AI. If you look at the apps, I'm sure that you're using apps. If you have done some research on the apps that are available, religious apps, there's a multitude of apps available, but it's also often from the same groups, not from all the groups. And we're having, yet again, a new technological change with AI. It's going to basically allow certain groups to grow and prevent other groups from growing.
So I also want to ask you about the one most intriguing aspect of your work is the concept of hyper-real religions. Spiritual movement inspired by popular culture, Judaism, anime-inspired spiritualities, Church of Flying Spaghetti Monsters, and so on. And it's also in Indonesian, we have some new religions also. And in Indonesian, we see it as penyimpangan. What is it? Like some rebellion, rebellion of the religion itself. Like, you're not, you're a rebellion from the Muslim or rebellion from the Christianity, and this is not see in the other part of like a global north. And this seems to be some observers to blur the line between sincere belief and play, and between authentic religion and consumer culture. And now as AI become a tool for religious practice, and we can have a blessing from AI. We can have, some of comments from AI, or even asking about the religions itself to AI. So is it still sacred, do you think, or it's beyond the realism, beyond the reality, and we can see that the AI itself change how we see the religions itself, Prof?
Yeah, no, it's a very interesting question. And to start answering it, I'll speak to you about some research that I've done on spirituality. When I did some research on spirituality, I spoke to people who wanted to find something that was more personal. They were part of and my research was more in the Western world, but they were raised in a religion, or even they were atheists, and they wanted something more personal, more closer to them, something that was more that providing them with more meaning. And as we saw at the end of last century, you had those spiritualities growing, and some religions started to be interested in those spiritualities, and that's why some religion decided to engage with that. And for example, the Catholic Church did a whole report on that and trying to see what can be embraced, what's spirituality and what shouldn't be. And they looked at the trends and what was changing in the world, and they tried to adapt themselves to the need of some individuals to have something more meaningful, something more closer, that doesn't deal through an intermediary. Or something that was more meaningful through certain use of social media, of popular culture. And then with hyper-real religion, I saw some people who went even further than that. And they wanted to create a religion for themselves, by themselves, using popular culture, mixing with religion and spirituality. Now, question, what's authentic? What's playful? Definitely the people the people I met in hyper religion and in my research, they're not treating that religion as true. They're using this as a platform to develop their spirituality. And they mix Shintoism with Buddhism, even with Catholicism and tarot cards, all together with the support of a popular culture. For them, it gives them an experience. For them, it gives them a source of inspiration. And they're not interested in joining a religious group. Now, you do have people in religious groups who will, of course, follow the theology of the group, but might find some inspiration in popular culture. And sometimes they might find some inspiration in popular culture can contradict what they're believing in. And that one becomes a problem. And that's why you've got some officials in religious groups that are providing advice to the followers, to the congregant, and say, these are the work of popular culture that you should read or you should watch. They provide inspiration for you. These you should avoid. For example, you all know about Harry Potter. Some groups try to stop children from watching Harry Potter because it was decided that it was desensitizing children to magic, to the world of occultism. And they believe that by being desensitized, they will meet some people from occultism and become occult themselves. You have groups in nature religion, also called witchcraft. They find some interest in that. And I've met many people in nature religion, and they worship nature as an entity, and they do magic for good. And they find some inspiration in Harry Potter because it was a popular culture that was supporting their way of thinking. So it's the way people read popular culture and interpret that. And with Hyper Religion 2.0, with the use of AI, again, this is something new happening. As I mentioned to you, there's religions created out of AI. It's still limited. But if we ever move to this new phase that I mentioned on general AI, when AI can think like a brain, what can happen? Again, it's a way of me ending the talk almost like I'm a science fiction writer, as you mentioned. Is that realm of science fiction? What could happen? Will people follow? But in the whole history of the world, there's been people who've claimed to have some revelations, people who've claimed to have received some notes from somewhere or created something. It doesn't mean that people follow them. So we just have to be observer and check and understand what's happening. And this is our role as social scientists to understand the developments and how those technology can change religion.
So it's a very interesting perspective. I would say that the religion itself is getting more personal. Because if we know that in the ancient times, we have some rituals, general rituals, and we have books, we have guidance, and now everyone can have their own spiritual spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right, Prof?
Yeah, and we're in the world of consumer culture, and we're speaking about different demands. Some people want the spirituality for themselves, others don't want spirituality for themselves. They want to be able to be part of a structure and will follow that structure very carefully. So we're speaking about different demands and different offer, if I can speak in those terms.
Okay, very interesting, Prof. And is there anyone who wants to add some spices to our discussion? Some questions or maybe comments? You can drop in the chat or maybe in this classroom. Please raise your hand. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon, Prof. Adam.
Hello.
I'm Arum.
Hello.
First of all, I want to say thank you so much for the explanation. And I want to ask you something about popular culture, since I have that lecture named Cultural Sociology this semester 2.
Great.
So my question is, in many countries, popular culture such as film, anime, and also fandom culture have evolved into transnational spaces that shape identity, solidarity, and also even practice resembling religious rituals. Does this phenomenon indicate the emergence of a new form of religiosity in the global era, or it is simply just a form of cultural consumption within the system of digital capitalism? Thank you.
Thank you. And indeed, the world of popular... yes, there's new rituals created out of popular culture. It's quite fascinating. Next week, I'll go to the Comics-Con equivalent in Sydney. And you have people who disguise themselves as characters from movies, from anime, and from mangas as well. And there's a type of the form of escapism in a way, being part of popular culture in the sense of being playfulness. But you draw the similarities with a religion here, but in terms of the function. Because to understand religion, you can think it in two broad terms: a substantive understanding, that is what is religion for people, and a functional understanding, what religion does for people. And one way of understanding what a religion does is to link people together, to have them all together and to build a kind of collective consciousness. And those gathering, you speak about popular culture, but it's not just watching movies or reading comic books or mangas. It's about joining a fan clubs, going to conventions, going to Comics-Con, and spending time on creating a costume, doing competition. It's almost part of a ritual. It's a part of them feeling together. And in terms of function, it can almost be like a religion in terms of function, but doesn't mean that they believe in an afterlife. It doesn't mean they believe in another entity. That started, there was some research, if you're still watching the Star Trek, I'm not too old to speak about Star Trek. But in the 70s and 80s, you had lots of Star Trek convention and people really studying and being interested in those characters, and they felt a sense of connection with other like-minded people. But is this a religion? I won't call that, unless it's in functional terms, same that we can equate sports to a religion sometimes. You have people coming into a stadium, or it's the World Cup at the moment, people are coming together and feel this sense of collective effervescence and almost acting as if it was part of a ritual. But as I mentioned, ritual is not just exclusive to religion, but it's not the whole part of it. You must have a belief that's involved in that, and you must have people who have a faith in something. Now, to come back to hyper-real version and Judaism, their activities, their behavior, their rituals was mainly on the internet. They've had some attempts at creating a Jedi church, but they always failed. And their activities is mainly online. Can we speak about collective effervescence, a sense of being linked together? It might be harder than being in the same space with other people and having regular rituals. And again, the people that have studied use Star Wars, the popular culture from Star Wars more as a source of inspiration, as a source to support the spirituality they want to create by themselves for themselves. Doesn't mean that they believe they're going to turn into a Jedi Knight. They use this as a type of support. But yes, popular culture more and more is part of everyday life. If you were reading the book, the sociological book in the 60s and 70s, they started to wonder what's popular culture doing to people, thinking that it should be differentiated from what they saw the high art. But today, I grew up with popular culture. You've grown up with popular culture. We've grown up with popular culture, with all the streaming offers that we've got on televisions, on iPads, the books that we read. And we are immersed in popular culture. It's part of our life now.
Yes, absolutely. In my era, I was in love with telenovela as a popular culture in my age. And now my students is going crazy with the K-pop, I think. Yeah. So eventually every lovely journey is about to meet the end, Prof. So we would like to send the appreciation for you.
Thank you
Please
so
have
much. Thank you.
And we have a certificate, but we send it to you digitally, Prof.
Thank you. I will receive it with great pleasure. Oh,
Yeah,
thank
this is
you. Yes.
your certificate. Please accept it, Prof, from
Thank
us
you.
to you.
Yes. Thank you. It's very kind of you.
Yeah, thank you, Prof. Adam, for all the engagement and for the questions. You're given us much to think about today as an academia, and we might approach the relationship between AI, religion, and society with both clarity and care. And this is almost at the end of our journey, Prof. Thank you so much for your lecture and your kindness, of course.
And
Thank
thanks
you
again for the invitation. I'm sorry, please.
Yes, thank you for being here. I hope we will meet in a person as soon as possible.
Thank you. And thank you for the invitation. Really appreciate it speaking to you and to students here. All the best with your studies.
Thank you. In the end, wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. See you, Prof. Adam.
Bye.
Bye. Very nice afternoon after all.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye.
Yeah.